Hello everyone, this is Video Boy and welcome to Archipelo devlog number 40. So we're already at 40 and that's pretty crazy, and soon we're going to get to 50. And I've been forgetting the past couple weeks, but this week let's try to get 15 likes. We've done it before, so I know we can do it again, and that'd be pretty awesome. So there's a lot to talk about in today's episode, so let's get started. So this week was all about the login and register system using databases. So that was actually very easy to do in the end, and it works very well. So what you see here is phpMyAdmin. So this is something that I installed on the server to keep track of the database, where all the player data and other things are stored. The way the database works is that they have tables. So tables have rows and columns. So as you can see, this is the player table. So each column has a different data type. So there's one for username, there's one for password, and there's many more, and even more can be added in the future. And each row represents a player with data pertaining to them. So when designing a database, you need to think about the different tables you will need and what values you need in the columns. Right now there's only the player table, but down the line there might be one for an item market where players can sell and buy items, or even a table to keep track of who's friends with who, and other things like that. So when looking at the player table, you may have noticed that the password field is encrypted, or at least it has a lot of weird characters. So I actually used encryption again, and it's much more secure than last time. I used AES encryption, which is much more secure than the previous one, and it also allows for recovering the password if needed. So the way AES works is there's a 16-byte key, or 128-bit key, that's used to create the encryption. So if I lose that key for some reason, I won't be able to get the passwords back, but don't worry, I won't lose it. And it'll be something very secure. And you guys will see the one I'm using now, but it's just a test one. So using databases and AES is a lot more universal. So in the future, it'd be easy to create a website for players with a forum and other things like that will allow them to log in with the same account that they use to log in into the game. So this would make it very possible to do that. And that wasn't really possible with the last Archipelo, the old one. So that could be pretty cool. So the future plan for this would be to have like an online marketplace to buy and sell items in the game. That would be accessible through the website and also through the game. So people would be able to go visit the marketplace and stuff when they're at work or at school, and they don't have to log into the game. So that would be pretty awesome. So for databases to safely work, to keep the password and everything all secure, I needed to create a config file just like in the old Archipelo. So since the game is open source, I couldn't just put the database username, password, and the AES encryption key in the code like people usually would do. So I had to figure out another method to do it. So the way I'm doing is I have a config and I have that data in it. So it's much more secure and it won't get hacked very easily. And right now the username, password, and encrypt key, as you see, are temporary. So I plan on making much more secure ones for the actual release. These are just for now for testing on my local computer that I develop on. So as you can see, the config has other data as well. So there's the database address for allowing to use an external database, not just the one on localhost. There's an MOTD, which stands for message of the day. It's just a message that is sent to players when they log in. You'll see that later once I show you the game. And finally, there's a bunch of spawn data to tell the server where to place a player who has just joined the game for the first time, who just registered. Alright, so let's just go into the actual game and see what's new there. So the first thing you may have noticed is the fade effect when logging in, and there's also a map name tag. I'll talk a little bit about this in a minute. I want to talk about something else first. So one of the first big changes is the addition of multiple entity hitboxes. So this is big because it allows for having awesome game mechanics. So to demonstrate this, I added a new door entity. So this entity has two hitboxes. So the first one on the bottom triggers the door to open and close it. So when you step on and off of it, it opens and closes. And the one on the top teleports the player to a new map. So this is just one of the potential uses of multiple hitboxes. Another use would be for big enemies. Just say they're not rectangular shaped. This will allow for more complicated entity shapes for like bosses and things like that. Also, each hitbox has an ID. So this ID is used for different events depending on which hitbox is hit on the entity. So for the door, the bottom one opens opens the door, and the top one teleports the player. So each the bottom and the top have their own ID. But for a big boss or something like that, there can be a hitbox with a weak point on the entity that does double the damage than usual. So the possibilities are really endless. There's so much you can do with that. So as demonstrated with the door, you can now teleport between maps. So there's also a fade effect that I mentioned. I was keeping it until now because I want to show you the teleporting first. So there's the fade effect, and now maps have a natural lighting attribute that allows the game to do different fade colors depending on whether they're going indoors or outdoors. So when going into the smithy, it fades into black, giving the illusion that it is indoors, but when you go back outside, it fades into white. Of course, when I add times of day, like day and night, it will also fade into black when you go outside at nighttime. There's also this name tag that pops up when entering a new map. So this is just a nice label to show the map's name. There's also going to be a big banner when you enter a new island, when I add boats to the game. So yeah, there was a lot of stuff added this week. And for next week, I'll continue following the schedule. And I also wanted to do something else. So my plans for this week is to add a nice login and register user interface to make it more user-friendly than just editing the code like I'm doing right now. Because that's not user-friendly at all. But this week I'd also like to prepare for the week after. So that week I plan on adding character customization. So some of you may remember when I added it the first time, it took a really long time to add. And the reason for this is because I had to add a whole item management system to the game. For adding for a player inventory, it was all back-end. There wasn't actually an inventory in the game, but the player did have an inventory data according to the code. So it should be much easier to do this time around, but I still need to do it, and it might take an extra week than planned, but it'll look great once it's done. So to help myself out, I decided I'm going to work on the UI for login and register this week, and also get working on the item system. And also the player customization update might take 2 weeks in the end, especially since I'm not going to be available for the whole week to work on it. Anyways, that ends off this week's devlog. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you didn't leave a like at the beginning of the video, please leave a like now. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. It helps a lot. And it's awesome to get new people joining us. And if you have questions or anything, or you want to learn how to make a game, you can check out our tutorials. And I'll see you guys next week. Goodbye.